this? The Nashville Predators, all business. They beat the Bruins in Boston. Juicy UC Saros was back last night. 35 saves and a must-win game for the Predators. That's pretty much the case all the way down the stretch here as they fight for a wild card spot in the West, which remains super interesting because the Preds still have 2 games in hand on the Jets, who they trail by a few points.
Yeah, and there's a shot in the arm for you. You come out on top against, fourth regulation loss at home for the Bees. Not a lot of clubs have that in their repertoire, their resume this year. But I'll tell you, the way they're going about it, too, the context is probably more interesting than the actual outcome last night because David Boyle stripped it down for parts.
Yeah.
They're pretty banged up at the same time. Cody Glass had 2 goals in the calendar year 2022 at this level. 10 of his 12 goals have come in the second half. Kind of, real push for him in the back part of this campaign. This was a guy that wasn't even supposed to make it out of training camp. So kudos on the guys that are getting it done for Nashville. Saros had a really big night.
He did. Guys like Tommy Novak, just so you look at the list, Luke Evangelista, these guys have come out of nowhere.
Say who again?
Yeah, Evangelista,
say who again?
I know, exactly. They've come out of nowhere, but they've got the opportunity, and they're putting points on the board. And I watched that game against Toronto, and Nashville was in that game the whole time. Then I watched the game against Boston, and they started the game against Toronto with Duchesne. He took the shot off the finger, and he's out week to week now. Their lineup, their top players are all injured and out, let alone trading guys and saying, all right, but their best player and their MVP, Saros, keeps them in games.
You mean Juicy UC?
Juicy
you can call him Juicy UC. Yeah, I'll call him UC Saros.
I've been trying to make it a thing all day.
You can call him Juicy. I'm not calling a player Juicy.
Why not?
Well, because I always think of Juicy as kind of a plump orange or something. It's juicy, so I'm thinking call a guy Juicy. A little plump out there.
Literal. I'm just saying, Juicy UC, he's got the juice. Kid's got juice.
Okay, he's got the juice.
Yeah.
But give this team all sorts of credit for the fact that John Hines has got the system that they're going to go on, and they are executing the system. They're a straightforward team. There's really nothing flashy or fancy going on, and they keep themselves in games with great goaltending and great structure. I'm not sure they're going to keep this up because their remaining schedule is daunting. Yes, they beat the Bruins. They almost got some points against the Leafs, but it just continues to go against top team after top team. But they are fun to watch because they give it all they've got. These guys are fighting for jobs, and it's not always your own team watching. You've heard this one before. It's not always your own GM or coaches watching. The whole league's watching. We're talking about these guys. Other teams are like, you know what? We need a depth guy. Somebody might come available. You scoop them up, and your career just takes off because of what you've done in a month or 2 months of call-up in Nashville with all the injuries.
You really have to play it that way if you're in that situation. I mean, yes, there's a couple of narratives formed inside that Nashville locker room right now. There is still, and we're not talking just mathematically, there's a good chance. They push hard. There's a path for this club to get in. Winnipeg's no lock, not by a long shot. But to your point, you get an opportunity to play higher in an NHL lineup. You're going to make the most of that opportunity, each and every player, like a Glass, like a Cole, like an Evangelista, like a Novak, because it may be a kind of a stepping stone to get to a better spot on a longer-term deal. So lots to play for on lots of different levels.
I will say this. I would argue that the Nashville Predators have probably been the most consistent team in this turtle race over the last few weeks. I think that I don't know for sure, but I'm sure if we looked at each team's record over the last handful of games, I feel like Nashville might actually have the best record. They've won important games. They did lose an important game recently as well. But you look at the standings, there they are, 3 points back, 2 games in hand. I mean, they are very much still in this. It'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out because, as we know, the Jets have been on the struggle bus for quite some time.